life is going to ambush us in some way, because that is the beautiful thing about life. It's supposed to throw chaos at us, and we're supposed to work our way and problem solve our way through it. But that doesn't mean we have to problem solve our way through it alone, or we have to sit on that X by ourselves. Hey, what's up, friends? Welcome to another great episode of the MDK Project Show. My name is Bedros Keuilian. This is Steve Eckert, and we are the founders of the Project. The Project is a 75-hour experience for men who want to level up in their faith, their family, fitness, and finances so they can live a life of fulfillment and significance. And today we want to talk to you about really what the core of the project is, which is brotherhood. Why men need a brotherhood, a tribe to belong to, why the lone wolf will often tend to die, and why wolves travel in wolf packs. And as men, we are designed to have that brotherhood and tribe as well. So why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I think in part of the Project Creed, it says, I lead when called upon and follow when I must. And that's what brotherhood is about. Knowing when to lead other brothers, knowing when to follow your other brothers, when your area of expertise can help out, when you need help, asking for help. That's what men, we're little bitches when it comes to asking for help.
Yep.
Suffering in silence and just holding up and building up resentment until it's too fucking late and you lash out at the wrong person, the wrong time, because you had no outlet for it. Like, this brotherhood is an outlet for these men that have this built up tension, and it helps them holding each other accountable. Like having a group, imagine having 200 fucking dudes that been through hell, even guys in different classes that never met. They just know, all right, if you graduated, I know you earned it, because I'll be fucking damned if I'm gonna let someone make it through that it didn't earn it. So they know just by the fact of someone graduating, they went through fucking hell, and it's one of them. And they meet sometimes, guys meet that have graduated the project, they meet for the first time just at an event, like at your event this past weekend, and you would think they knew each other for 20 years. They were old college buddies. They're like best friends. They're brothers. They have this instant fucking bond and connection. It's like it's an awesome thing to fucking see happen.
Yeah, it is. And oftentimes as men, we know that too. We know that better. Like if you ask any man, like, hey, how would you instruct your son? And he'd be like, man, have a group of friends around you that share your core values, that have your belief system, that have your back.
That don't hang around with the shitty ones.
Right. Don't hang out with the shitty ones. Like, every guy knows how to advise their son, but every guy also starts living like an island, a lone wolf, especially when they get under stress, under pressure. Things start, inevitably, we all, as kind of Jason Redman says, inevitably we all find ourselves on the X of life, on that ambush point. Life is going to ambush us in some way, because that is the beautiful thing about life. It's supposed to throw chaos at us, and we're supposed to work our way and problem solve our way through it. But that doesn't mean we have to problem solve our way through it alone, or we have to sit on that X by ourselves. And I think men are notorious because it's like, well, one, I don't want to put my problems on anyone. I don't want to bother Steve by saying, hey, this is what's bothering me. I don't want to put my problems on you. Number two, part of it is ego and pride. Like, I don't want to show weakness by asking a friend for advice, help, or support. When in reality, nothing makes me happier than when a friend is like, hey man, can I get your counsel? Can I get your advice? Can you help me for a moment? I'm like, bro, I'm there. I got your back. What could I do? And hell, even when you and I text every now and again, like, hey man, checking in, how's everything? How's the family? It's really good. And during the pandemic, we checked in on each other often. And it's like, dude, feels good knowing that someone, while we're like 30 minutes, an hour away from each other in California, we're both busy. We don't get to see each other unless we're running the Squire program or the project usually, to know like, man, my homie's right down the street and he's checking on me. That's a good feeling. But when we lack that brotherhood, we begin to suffer in silence, anxiety, depression, overwhelm, all that kick in. And then that's where we start finding vices: alcohol, weed, vape, pornography, gambling, infidelity. The list goes on, because a man who is suffering in silence needs to escape from that pain. One way to escape from that pain is to lean on his brothers, on his friends that have gone through the same level of adversity, share the same core values, and then go, hey man, someone once told me, pain shared is pain divided. It's like, cool, man, if I can divide the weight of my pain, we can carry it together. And how awesome would it be to share my pain with you and others in our brotherhood, and then move me along in life. But instead we suck it up, and the pain becomes so heavy that we start looking for ways to escape it. And that's usually fighting with the wife, alcohol, drugs, infidelity, gambling, whatever. And that's what I found is the absence of a brotherhood is felt most when life's inevitable suffering and adversities come along.
And this brotherhood, even now we've been 4.5 years in, it still continues to shock me. Shit that happens. This is maybe a year and a half ago. So my father died like a couple of days before we had a class of the project. And
right.
This brotherhood is so important to me that I told my sister, he died on a Thursday. I was in Atlanta. I said, and they were in New York. I said, if you don't have the funeral on Monday, I'm not going to be there at the funeral because we have a class of the project on Tuesday. I'm not going to miss that, even for my own father's funeral. I didn't have a great relationship with my father, but that's besides the point. That's how important this brotherhood is to me. And here's the part that ties into that even crazier. So I get there on a Friday. I was Thursday, flew over there, got there Friday. They have the wake. I'm sitting there at the wake. I don't know if I've even ever told you this story. I'm sitting there at the wake, and I see someone walk into the place there. Like, there's all local people that I haven't seen in like 20 years. I never go back to that area too much. So I see a face I recognize, but I can't tell where I recognize from. He's real sharp, wearing this suit, lean and fit. I'm like, where the fuck do I know this guy from? And I see him make eye contact with me from across the room, and he starts making his way around, not saying anything to anyone. Like, he obviously doesn't know anyone there. And he walks up to me and he stands next to me. I'm like, where the fuck do I know this guy from? And I look on his collar. He's got a fucking project pin on.
He's got a pin.
He just graduated the class right before that, a couple of months ago, like 2 months ago. Drove from Rhode Island and just said he had the itch to do it. He just felt the need to come down there. He literally put a suit on, drove 3.5 hours, came in, shook my hand, talked to me for 5 minutes, got in his car, and drove back to Rhode Island. It was fucking, I said, this brotherhood fucking amazes me. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's the same. That was Tony Shirley. And the same thing is, men also need this brotherhood, need a brotherhood, switching gears on it, to have challenge and competition. He then, 2.5 years later, he came to my house. I do these 24-hour challenges. He showed up to one he brought his son one time and he worked out with us, and another time he came to my house to work out for this 24-hour challenge. The entire time, he's checking my sheet, I'm checking his sheet to see where I'm at on this challenge. Not saying anything, not saying it's a competition, but we see each other's fucking eyeballs going there. So you need that. Like, the amount that I did in that 24 hours, I would have not gotten anywhere near what I got if there wasn't another fucking savage there to push me. Because the only one who he was right behind me, and the amount that we finished, the only one even close to him, number 3, and there was over 50 or 60 people that came to this, was my 11-year-old son, who did the most rounds of anyone else.
Tyson's a beast.
And there was like 20 other project graduates that came there.
Yeah.
Also, that's besides the point. But to have someone like that really is fucking pushing you and pressuring you. I would have done 20% less what I did if I didn't have that heat on me, because Tyson was far enough back and there was no one else there. So I would have toned it down. He fucking kept me on my toes, didn't let me stop for a second. Like, if I would have taken a rest, I would have been done. He would have caught me. I had no chance.
And that's an important piece, man, what you talk about there, because again, when you share core values with someone, right? It's like, well, dude, he's jacked. I want to stay jacked. I don't want to be the instructor that's out of shape. I don't want to be the instructor that doesn't live the core values. I don't want to be an instructor that doesn't like live the ethos that we have and everything we live by. And so when I think about that, competition helps keep everybody sharp. Competition in a sales organization, competition in a military organization, competition in a work environment, competition in what we do just as a brotherhood. It keeps everybody sharper, and you're able to eke out that much more. And in that process of that, we find a new gear, a new level. And I'm convinced that without that, most people won't just go and compete with themselves. They'll find where that comfort zone of exercise is, or making money is, or whatever a relationship is.
Just enough to get by.
Just enough to get by. It's like, well, okay, I did my workout of the day. I had date night, but dude, if you're going on the special, spectacular, massive, awesome date night, I'm like, I want to one-up you. And that's the cool thing about guys. We do want to one-up. We do want to compete. Everything is a competition. And competition in a good sense is a really cool thing. Now, if you're like, hey, man, I just snorted a pound of cocaine, I'm not going to try and one-up you.
I will get a pound and a half.
That's right. I
do that right before every class in a project.
That's right. That's what happens. But yeah, man, a brotherhood or competition. And then on the flip side of it, it's the relationships that are built. Like, when I think about how many people that have graduated the project who didn't know each other hour one when they started, later created a business together, later ended up working together, using each other's services. Like the brotherhood just keeps getting stronger.
I think there's some guys that came together that never knew each other before, and they're opening up a Fit Body, I think, right?
Yeah.
Fit Body Boot Camp.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
That's fucking like awesome. Two guys that never knew each other going in together in Fit Body Boot Camp. Like,
Yep.
that is freaking awesome.
And here's another one. Like two dudes that came together at the project who didn't know each other, gone into business together. One of them ended up dying, right? If you remember, one of them ended up dying. And his business partner, who's also a project graduate, we all ended up raising money for that guy's family, his kids, so that they could find their way, both the son and the daughter can find their way into college. Like, isn't it a great feeling knowing that, God forbid, something happens to me, that like my wife, my kids could reach out to someone that they see as an uncle, as a big brother, and be like, hey man, like dad's gone, husband's gone, what can I do? And someone's got their back. Like, that's a good feeling for a man. And without a brotherhood, you're not going to have that.
To me, that's the biggest value of the project, is that the brotherhood that we're talking about. That is more that, they're getting them in shape, and it's helping their business. They're making more money. They're starting businesses they wouldn't have started. They're leveling up in their lives. They're working on their personal development and self-mastery. But that brotherhood is that is really what the after value of the project, the ongoing, lifelong value of the project is all about.
The irony, and this is not lost on me, and I don't know about you, but growing up as a kid, I moved around so much, 3 elementary schools, 2 junior highs, 2 high schools. I never had like a group of friends that I considered like, man, they're my homies, right? And so I always kind of grew up as a loner. I always grew up as like, I was that one kid that just walked around the campus during lunchtime on his own. And I remember seeing like the band geeks. I remember seeing the athletes. I'm like, man, everyone's hanging out. Even the gothic people, man. Like, it's like, all right, they might come around shooting people one day, but at least they all look cool wearing their black makeup,
their tribe,
trench coats. And I always felt like without a tribe. And the irony of that is then we start something years later as adults that I finally feel like, shit, I belong into something. I belong. And even when I made a lot of money before the project, I made a lot of money as an entrepreneur, but let's face it, in the entrepreneurial world, just like in any world, there's some people that are unsavory. There's some people that are a little scuzzy. It's like, okay, well, great. You make money. You're an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. We might be peers, but I don't want to hang out with you and be friends. Like, I don't consider that guy. But you show me someone that's kind of believes in the hardship of the project and the 4 pillars of the project and has graduated and gone through it, man,
there's still some motherfuckers that graduated the project that don't want to be friends with me. I get it. I did some fucking nasty shit to them. They can't get over it. I'll deal with it.
Hey, to that point, I don't think I've ever asked you this, and no better time to ask you this than, so at the project, speaking of competition, we have that project dinner, the graduation dinner on Friday night. We're all dressed up in suits. Amazing steak dinner. We give every guy his pin, his crest, and the axe. And then what do we do? Because we're competitive, right, as instructors, and we've been ranking them the entire 75 hours, 1, 2, whatever. We ask them to rank us. Inevitably, you're always ranked number 1. Yet inevitably, during the project, 9 out of 10 times, you're the reason they quit, ring the bell, and leave.
Those motherfuckers ain't ranking me number 1.
They probably aren't. Why do you think the guys that stick around rank you as number 1? For as much as they hate it.
It's either one or there are always a couple stragglers out of the 5s that I take just as much pride in the 5s as I do in the 1s. But the ones that are 1, because I think they need that. They needed that fucking wake-up call. They needed someone to stop letting them half-ass shit and stop bullshitting them through life and just letting them get away with the shit that they've been getting away with their whole life. And I'm not going to fucking tolerate that. And they needed that. They needed someone to call them out on it, whether it's violently or however the job needs to get done. They needed that fucking wake-up call. They needed that chaos. They needed to I'm showing them what the fuck they're capable of. That's all I'm doing is my job is to bring fucking chaos, let them deal with it, because life's going to bring them chaos in their family, in their marriages, in their business. Yep. They need to be able to deal with that fucking chaos. And once they flip that switch, if they do, I think that's what they appreciate. Yeah.
Which I think the most beautiful part about the project is that it's a metaphor for life. Like in 75 hours, we get to see you in your relationships, because they create relationships with those guys, with their brothers, right? And then how quickly I can get them to turn on each other when we have those interrogation rooms. You're very gentle with your interrogation. Yes. I'm very violent in mine.
You're just a dickhead.
Yeah. It's actually the other way around, friends. There may be some images floating around with instructor Steve with a metal object at the throat of some of the candidates, but it's always in good humor and good fun. But with that said, What happens to the dudes who are like, hey, I'm never going to go through the project, but you know what? You've convinced me that I need a brotherhood. How can dudes who maybe aren't going to go through the project, don't feel like they need it, which I don't think there's a guy out there who doesn't need the project. Everyone needs to test themselves and then keep testing themselves. But say someone's like, hey, the project's not for me. What's the best way for them to find a brotherhood?
Start it, begin it, be the one. Don't sit around and wait and find the brotherhood, because you're not going to be able to. You sit and wait to find a bunch of like-minded fucking savages like yourself that are going to go and do hard shit with you. It's not going to happen.
Yep.
Go and start one. Go start the brotherhood. Be the one that reaches out, that notices that other guy in the gym that's doing some crazy ass fucking workouts or working hard, and you connect and maybe spot each other and start connecting that way and branch it out from there. Mm-hmm. Be the fucking one. Stop waiting to be a fucking sheep. Like, be the leader.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest points that I want to drive home is sometimes you have to be the first domino and you have to be the one to start it. And starting it might be going to a jiu-jitsu class. Starting it might be saying, fuck it, I'm going to sign up to a local mud run or a Spartan race on my own, but see who I'm going to meet there. And maybe if I meet some like-minded dudes at jiu-jitsu or on a bike ride or on a book club, whatever the fuck it is that is interesting to you, if you start the thing, you can start building the tribe. And down the line, when you have these experiences with these guys and you've got some track record with them and you've got a reputation with them like we have with each other, it's one of those things where when the inevitable hardship of life happens, again, life ambushes, the X that we end up sitting on, whether it's divorce, death in the family, a car accident, a sickness, some economic situation happens that financially hurts one guy more than the other guy. Like, you can reach out to that guy that you connected with, built a brotherhood, and again, pain shared is pain divided, and work through that pain and process.
I think one way to start wrapping this up is think about after the first class of the project. 5 of us instructors, what a bunch of fucking knuckleheads, like a bunch of drunk college kids. We did one fucking class. Yep. We didn't even have a logo yet. We just switched the logo. Luckily, we switched it in time.
Right.
The 5 of us, like a bunch of drunk fucking high kids, like we got all on the weekend, went on a bender. We all go to the tattoo shop and get the tattoo of the project logo on top of our fucking hands after one class. But to me, that was just to show even one class, it had to have had an impact on us as instructors.
Massively.
We didn't know if we were having a second class. We never even had it on the calendar yet. Yeah. We didn't even have a website yet. Yeah. And yet we're going to get this tattooed up. That was my first tattoo at 41 years old.
Right.
On top of my fucking hand of the project logo, the crest.
Yeah.
Like, that right there always shows me how much, even after just one class, even if a shit show as it might have been, as we were figuring things out, and we still just had the impact we saw it had on them, but even more the impact it had on us. And saw what was going on and what this brotherhood and what camaraderie really was needed. And I was in the Marine Corps. I don't even have a Marine Corps tattoo. And at 41 years old, got the Project Crest tattoo after one fucking class. That kind of tells you how important and how meaningful that the project is, this brotherhood.
And it's funny you mentioned that, dude. I always jokingly tell my wife, I'm like, we've had Fit Body Boot Camp, our franchise round, since 2012. So 11 years, right? 11 years. Hundreds of owners, hundreds of thousands of clients, coaches. Mm-hmm. I know of 2 people that have a Fit Body Bootcamp tattoo on their body. We've had the project going on, 4 years now, right? 200 graduates. Would you say about half the graduates have the crest somewhere
near there, somewhere close? Yeah.
Like, that tells you the buy-in. It's like, in fact, we tell them at that graduation dinner, like, don't go getting the project tattoo till 6 months after your graduation. Mm-hmm. See if you really live the core values of the project. See if you really are who you say you are. And if so, reach out to us. We'll give you the thumbs up after 6 months and you can go get that tattoo. One guy, Chris Weichman, who's now an instructor, has a giant crest on his
back.
His entire back is the crest. It's like, holy hell.
And under it has the entire creed.
Yeah.
The entire creed tattooed on his back.
Makes me feel like
nuts.
I didn't go big enough.
What the fuck we do?
What did we
losers?
Right. What did we do? Right. And he was a class member. He was in the Air Force. He was in special operations. He taught SEER classes, and then he went through it because he missed that brotherhood once he left the military. He went through the project as an entrepreneur, and then come full circle now, he's one of our instructors for it. And there's nothing as powerful as a brotherhood with like-minded people who share your core values and belief system, because the relationship through workouts, through time together, through breaking bread, through whatever it is, the experiences that you're having, deepen the relationship so much that the bond that's built is unbreakable, man. And I love that. Anything else to add?
Just that, like you say you talk about Wild at Heart a lot, the book Wild at Heart by John Eldridge, to see if you have what it takes. I think that's what the project is. Like, look, Chris Weichman's a perfect example. Military, high level military, much higher level than I was. And then we have the last class, Luplo. He's a special ops ranger also coming through. You have to find out at some point in your life, because guys are like, why don't they just join the military? This is a fake military thing. No, it is not. This is for men to sometimes find out, do I still have what it takes?
Right. Not
just do I have what it takes, at a different point in life. Like, this camaraderie in the project is more than I ever had in the Marine Corps. And what these guys started losing in the military, we got 20% that are probably military firefighters, police officers that come through somewhere around there. Yeah. So it's a brotherhood like none other. Like, sometimes you didn't have or lost in the military, and you need to find out, do I still have what it takes? And you still need to go out and be part of a brotherhood.
And I think that's the best way to sum that up, man, is to always check, do I still have what it takes? And if you do, then to find the brotherhood of like-minded people. And when you do, love them up, protect them, look after them, because there will be a time that they come back and look after you as well. And guys, with that, we want to wrap up this episode of the Project Show as well. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode. And again, if you want to join us at an upcoming project class, click the link in the description box, or just go to Google MDK Project, or just look up Steve Eckert or me, Bedros Keuilian, on Instagram. Send us a message and we'll let you know how you can apply for an upcoming class. Talk soon.